Hello and welcome to Inside Sports, presented by Meritus Urgent Care and Total Rehab. I'm Wes Decker, and I'm sure they know this at Meritus, but unless you work in the medical field, chances are you never even knew that there's a code for that. As of Thursday, in doctors' offices, hospitals, nursing homes, and just about every part of the U.S. health system, new diagnostic codes are being used to describe patients' illnesses and injuries, a requirement implemented so that providers can get paid. Now, those internal codes increased this week from some 14,000 to more than 68,000, and some are quite interesting. For instance, if you were bitten by a macaw, the code is W61.11. There are also designations for injuries suffered from being sucked into a jet engine, being burned by flaming water skis, and from swimming in a prison swimming pool. There are also separate codes for being crushed by an alligator versus being crushed by a crocodile. Thank goodness for the differentiation. That could get very confusing. Every single code, bizarre and otherwise, can be found on Twitter at EveryICD10. Despite the overwhelming itch to create one or two codes of our own, we do hope to remain injury-free on today's show, which includes student-athlete representation from Williamsport Volleyball and Hancock Football. And speaking of football, Herald Mail insider Bob Parsaliti joins me to kick things off right after this.
When your family is hurting, you don't have time to wait. Act now. Visit Meritus Urgent Care on Pennsylvania Avenue. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Meritus Urgent Care treats minor conditions like earaches, sore throats, and sprains. Meritus Urgent Care also offers x-rays and sports physicals, and many prescriptions are filled on-site. Located off Interstate 81 on Pennsylvania Avenue, visit Meritus Urgent Care. Expert care, close to home.
One, wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. One, wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier martial arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick, you feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
Welcome back to the show, and we kick things off this week with football and a review of Week 6's action. And joining me for that, Herald Mail insider Bob Parsaliti. Bob, let's start with the South Hagerstown Rebels. I think by far the most dramatic win of the week. They do it in comeback fashion, something a little bit different than the way the season had unfolded to this point. Aside from Week 1 where they fell behind against Mervo, they had jumped on top of everybody, but Tuscarora got the jump on them Friday night, but South really showed their mettle as that game unfolded.
Well, the unsung hero for South this year has been their defense. They make a lot of things happen. You know, they have 3 guys on that team that are averaging like 10 tackles apiece. The big play of the game, South starting to come back, but the big play of the game is Justin Mitchell's interception return for a touchdown. Not only it put him on top, but it really changed the complexion of that game the rest of the way.
Yeah, I think when you look at what Justin Mitchell was able to do in a span where South Hagerstown had put some points on the board finally in that game. It seemed like nothing was going right. They got a big 50-yard kickoff return from a guy named Khalil Folks, who hasn't been mentioned all season long, and penalty flag on Tuscarora. On top of that, sets up a couple of Darian Robinson touchdown runs back-to-back in an 8-play span. South puts points on the board that get them back to even with 5:21 to go. And then all of a sudden, Justin Mitchell all night long, it was a barrage of passing by Tuscarora. So a very cerebral play by Mitchell, who had seen this happening all night long, steps in front of the pass, returns it 48 yards for a touchdown. He's actually our Buffalo Wild Wings Player of the Week this week because that was such a pivotal play in such a big game, because you can't emphasize how much a South Hagerstown loss would completely eliminate them from the playoff picture in 3A West. So for Mitchell to step up, make that play, cap a 19-point rally, and give South a 26-20 lead, that was huge. And then they had to overcome, later in that game, they had to overcome what was officiating kind of came into play this week in a lot of games. And TJ Peer had the ball ripped out of his hands. Depends on when the whistle came. The official said that they blew it before the ball was loose. Tuscarora didn't necessarily agree, but all that matters is the official said it was still South Hagerstown football. They go on to add another score, and South wins 32-20. But I think overall this is a very impressive game. And again, that South defense key only giving up the 3 touchdowns, and they got stronger as the game went along.
Well, but on the other side of the coin too, TJ Peer runs that offense. He's as much a manager as anything else, and he comes out with I think he had like 143 yards rushing or something like that. That's something that's becoming more and more prevalent for them as the season goes by. He ends up being that other runner that they had a lot of last year. He ends up being the change of pace guy for them now this year.
Yeah, he is getting a lot stronger as the season's gone along. South now 4-2 at 4-1 Fort Hill coming up on Friday. Well, Boonesboro just kept doing what it's been doing all season long. Absolutely demolished FSK 55-0. 7 different Warriors scored touchdowns, and 5 of the 8 Boonesboro scores came from distance, covering 25 yards or more in its second best point output of the season. And meanwhile, speaking of defense, that D at Boonesboro continued its stingy ways, pitching its 3rd shutout of the season and its 2nd in a row. And I don't think that's any surprise. FSK, again, a team that's not going to provide a lot of teams with challenges. And Boonesboro, again, just pushing them aside.
Well, for Boonesboro, this is a game, again, where they use a different way of winning. They've done a little, and that's big for a football team, is to be able to be diverse. You got a team that's really not that strong. You use your running game, and Boonesboro comes out and runs for 309 yards. And every one of those runners basically got a touchdown. Except for Zach Graham, who got 2. Yeah. And then you got the obligatory touchdown pass to Alex Wetzel in there too, and you got a little bit of everything, and that's a perfect game for Williamsport or for Boonesboro. And you add that defense. This week when they play, they're going to be going for their first 3 shutouts in a row. I looked this up. Since 1962,
Holy cow.
When Dwight Scott was the coach of Boonesboro.
Wow, boy, that's going back a ways, and Boonesboro gets the worst scoring offense in the county in North Hagerstown, 6-0 versus 0-6. And the reason North Hagerstown is 0-6, a 22-7 loss on Friday night. It was really the good, the bad, and the ugly, but the good fell squarely on the Wildcats side. Matt Malfers looked good running for a score and throwing for one to Kayvon Carter, who caught 2 big passes on the night and ran for the game's first and probably the most important touchdown, because that set the tone in a game for 2 teams who had been struggling coming in, and Williamsport to get a touchdown in their first possession on homecoming proved to be big.
Well, I thought, personally, I really thought this game was won on the first play, because the week before, North Hagerstown really stuffed up Smithsburg's offense. It was in the rain and everything, because rain has a great equalizer and all that, but they really stuffed up Smithsburg for much of the game. And I was looking for some of the same against Williamsport, and when Matt Malfers took that first play and busted off a 21-yard run to put him on the doorstep, I thought that set the whole tone, because that took away everything. And then when they get that touchdown, they set the tone for the rest of the game, because they're not used to being on top. They only had 7 touchdowns as a team coming into this game, so that was huge.
Yeah, no question of that. And the bad in that game was what made the game ugly. 31 combined penalties for over 300 total yards. North Hagerstown's only scoring drive was aided by a pair of 15-yard infractions against against Williamsport. Chris Smith finished it with a 21-yard reception, but the Hubs fall to 0-6, as mentioned, travel to Boonesboro now. The homecoming victory ups Williamsport's record to 2-4. The Cats will host 1-5 Frederick on Friday. On Saturday afternoon, speaking of homecoming, Smithsburg over Clear Spring 34-7. This is a series that Smithsburg has owned, never losing to Clear Spring, but it was a little more of a chess match early on. Smithsburg struggling a little bit in the first half, and then once Clear Spring got the lead early in the second half, it seemed like Smithsburg finally turned it on.
Well, I thought Smithsburg was living off their defense. Their defense is getting turnovers. They got another 3 interceptions, which gives them 18 for the year. I think they have like 21 turnovers. They've takeaways for the season. You add to it, they held Clear Spring to running in the middle of the field. Joe McCoy had about 156 yards, something like that. But he was basically in the middle except for his 1 touchdown run. Plus, they took away the pass. And they don't. Clear Spring doesn't pass a lot, but if you make them one-dimensional, you know what's coming. And they really took care of Joe McCoy for the big part of it. And with the turnovers, got the short field and converted on him.
and it was a Smithsburg scoring pass that turned everything around. Burkholder able to make a good catch going up above a defender to give the Leopards the lead. 22 unanswered points down the stretch. And as you said, 3 more interceptions for Smithsburg. Again, throw at your own risk against that defense.
They had 5, but they got 2 called back by penalties,
That's
too.
exactly right. So Smithsburg takes a 4-2 mark into Friday's game at winless Brunswick. And despite Joe McCoy's game, which again was a solid one, first time this year Clear Springs lost a game where he's run for over 100 yards, the Blazers fall to 3-3. They'll be at 1 win. Berkeley Springs coming up on Friday. Murray defeated St. James 44-7, so the 2-game losing streak comes to, the winning streak comes to an end for the Saints, who endeavor to win 2 games in the MAC for the first time since 2010, but that'll have to wait. 4s were really wild in the first half of that game. Murray scored on its final 4 possessions of the first half. St. James, meanwhile, just 4 first downs and allowed 4 sacks in the first half. John Mechie with the only touchdown of the afternoon or of the night for St. James. But tough one. They'll get a chance to bounce back, though, against Central Maryland Christian coming up on Thursday. Very short turnaround for that particular team. Evidently, they played on Monday.
Yes, they had. It seemed like St. James had trouble with Garrison Burnett, the quarterback for Murray. He ran for 251 and 2 scores and threw for another 155 and 3 scores. So that's accounting for 35 of the 44 points right there.
Yeah, he is a very multi-dimensional quarterback. There's no question of that. So that's week 6 in the books. Bob, we'll talk about week 7 next week.
I'll be here.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. I'm back right after this. There's a little more week 6 left. The Hancock representation on the football side coming up in just a moment.
Yeah, how can we help you today?
I really need to get back to work.
Whether it's going back to work or getting back on the golf course, Total Rehab Care maximizes every patient's individual potential, offering state-of-the-art rehab, including physical, occupational, and speech therapy, all in one location. Experts who take a personal interest in their patients' progress. Call or visit online for more information. Meritus Health, treating the community well.
Welcome back to the show. We continue now with more football, and joining me, representatives of the Hancock football team, Jared Hose, along with Brad Welsh and Sam Haynes. Welcome to the show, guys. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Fresh off the win over a Seed on Friday, Jared, a 30-26 victory, a game in which Hancock started out strong with a 14-0 lead in the first half. Things kind of tightened up as the game went along, but your passing was a key to that football game and to the victory. Tell me a little bit about how that unfolded in your eyes.
First, I'd like to start by saying that our line blocked exceptionally well. They bought me a lot of time, and our receivers just did a good job getting open and hanging on to passes in the tough conditions.
Yeah, and those conditions themselves, how difficult were they? I mean, this was the second week in a row that you had played in wet conditions anyway.
They just take some time getting used to. Like you just said, it was the second week in a row, so we're starting to adapt a little bit.
And Brad, in terms of the defense, pretty good effort in terms of forcing turnovers in that particular game and hanging on in the end. As the season goes along, obviously playing on both sides of the ball, both lines, do you get more conditioned as the season goes along in terms of being out there as much as you are on the field?
Yes, you do. You get a lot better conditioned, and you just feel 100% more of the time than in the beginning of the season.
How would you define the defense right now for Hancock? Because clearly doing the fundamentals huge for this team and doing them right. And I think when it comes to the defense, that's something that you really have to hang your hat on in terms of success.
I think we're playing pretty good. We just need to work on a couple things, coverage, pursuit, and tackling. And if we can make that step, we'll be a really good defense.
4-2 right now is the record, Sam. As this season has gone along, you put together a 2-game winning streak at this point in time. What's the confidence level right now for the team?
I think our confidence is really high, but we can't let the confidence overrule us. We need to think every game is our biggest game that we're going into.
And you have Maryland School for the Deaf coming up this week, a team that only has one loss to this point in time. Do you even look at what other teams have done during the course of the season, or do you pretty much focus on what you're doing and improving what you're doing heading into each game?
Mainly we want to focus on what we're doing and to try to get better day by day to go into the game 100%.
And on offense, early in the year, especially when I looked at the numbers, it looked like the running game was really the strength of this team on offense, and I think it probably still is in terms of the backbone. But talk a little about the offensive line and what it's taken for the line to come together and to open up holes for your running backs.
We have a strong line this year, and just hitting the weight room hard over summer really helped us out get to where we are right now.
And Brett, talk about that a little bit, because people, it's mentioned all the time what you do during the off season, but how does that translate to the football field?
It helps a lot, just shedding blocks, blocking people, pushing people down the field. It makes a huge difference, especially if the other team did not lift or get strong. You can definitely see the difference in how much it helps you.
And do you feel like that's an advantage for you guys, even though you don't have a lot of players on the roster, the fact that you know that you have worked hard during the offseason?
That's a big advantage.
And Jared, on the offensive side, it seems like you've gotten the reins loosened up a little bit, perhaps, with throwing the football a little bit more. Are you happy with that? You like throwing the football?
We're a good running team, and we just use the run to really set up the pass. So as long as we keep running the ball hard, I think we'll have opportunities.
I can see that's a very calculated answer on your part to some degree, and that's okay. That's okay. It's just that I think that the passing game has been effective, and it's gotten more effective as the season has gone along. Do you feel like maybe when other teams scout you guys a little bit that it's the element of surprise that works to your advantage with the pass too?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. I can see that Coach Rupenthal has put some things into your head where it's like, let me think about what these answers might be as they come out, but that's okay. At the end of the game against Seed on Friday night, it took that running game to sort of salt it away at the end, a couple of big runs there. How satisfying is it to have that 2-game winning streak right now? I know a lot of teams look at it as just it's one win at a time, one game at a time. But obviously, the more wins you can put together, the more you have a chance to do something that Coach Rupenthal also doesn't like to talk about, and that's point toward the postseason. So, right now, I'd ask Sam what the confidence level is, but how do you feel like things are progressing on the offensive side?
I feel like we're getting more in sync. I feel like we're cutting down on the mistakes that we were making earlier in the year. And I think we're just continuing to work hard, and we're putting ourselves in a good position to be successful right now.
Well, I certainly wish you guys the best of luck the rest of the season. And again, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. I'll be back right after this. The show continues with Williamsport volleyball representation in just a moment.
When your family is hurting, you don't have time to wait. Act now. Visit Meritus Urgent Care on Pennsylvania Avenue. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Meritus Urgent Care treats minor conditions like earaches, sore throats, and sprains. Meritus Urgent Care also offers x-rays and sports physicals, and many prescriptions are filled on site. Located off Interstate 81 on Pennsylvania Avenue, visit Meritus Urgent Care. Expert care, close to home.
One, wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. One, wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier martial arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick, you feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
Welcome back to the show. We continue now with volleyball and the Williamsport Wildcats, represented by Olivia Rowland, Carly Shank, and Sammy Rady. Welcome to the show.
Thanks,
What's the
guys.
matter? What's the matter? Everybody's looking at me. What, is there a problem?
No.
Did I mess something up?
We're good.
Are we good?
Yeah.
I think everybody's just still worn out from the victory over Smithsburg.
Yeah.
Olivia, tell me a little bit about that win. Obviously, this was a big match coming in. You had beaten North Hagerstown earlier this year.
Yeah.
And now you get Smithsburg at home in what really was a battle for county supremacy in a big way. So tell me about the approach to the match to begin with.
I think we just went in with like the mentality that like we have to beat them. Like this is our rival. Like same with the North game too.
And Carly, going into that particular match, this Williamsport team had been on a real roll. Aside from the loss to James Wood, where you were very resilient, coming back from 2 sets down to force that to a 5th set. This Smithsburg team, obviously, it's tradition and sort of precedes itself. Now, the approach from Williamsport, as Olivia said, you want to get the win, want to come away with a victory. How big was it to win the first set?
I think it made us feel like we can do this, like we have this match. And even though we went in thinking that, it made it even better. Like, we got this. This is our game. Like, let's keep this intensity and let's go.
Yeah, it really made it tangible for you and made it real that that's something that could be accomplished. Sammy, after winning the first set, then you drop the next 2 sets. So now the battle is really on. So where do you find your resiliency? Because I thought that that's one thing that really came to the fore in the match against North Hagerstown, just constantly battling back. It seems like this team never lets down, regardless of what the score might be. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, it's not really like, I mean, yeah, we have that like loss. Like, I mean, this could be our last time. Like, we went to that 4th set. Like, this could be the last time. We have nothing left to lose. Like, if we lose, like, we have another loss to us. But if we, leave this all that we have out and take what we got.
How big is the senior leadership that all 3 of you bring?
Pretty big. It's I think it's a huge statement. Like our freshman Kira, she looks up to us, I feel, and a couple other of us, our defense, like they look up to us to. I mean, if one of us is, we're down, then our team's down, and we can't have that mentality.
There was a lot of talk during the broadcast about ball control, Carly. Do you feel that that was one of the big things that really helped you kind of swing momentum back in your favor?
Definitely.
And what enabled you to do that?
I feel like when we stayed calm and when we got the passing is key to our game. And when we got the pass, the ball was going down because the hitters are definitely capable of doing that. And as soon as we get the pass, the ball, we got it. Like, it's definitely on our side.
And I thought it was amazing. I mean, when the ball goes down for Williamsport, the ball goes down, Olivia. There's no question about that. And I thought another big part of the game was blocking at the net and kind of slowing things down a little bit and allowing the Williamsport side to be more proactive than reactive as the game went along. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Because like whenever we get a block, it slows the ball down for our defense, so they have a better chance at getting the ball up and like making a good play out of it.
And there was a lot of defense being played. Carly, you were on the floor digging a lot of balls out. How contagious does that become? Because I think as announcers we look at it and we say, wow, it's becoming infectious the way they're playing so well together. But is it really contagious when everybody is part of what's going on and you're being successful?
Definitely.
Yeah, and how do you get that going? Because after losing 2 sets in a row, as Sammy said, in set 4, hey, this could be it. You have a sense of urgency, but how do you find that again? Something that you had back in set 1, but it seemingly gone away for a couple of sets.
I feel like it's a mental thing. Like you gotta believe in yourself to get the ball, and you gotta want the ball.
Yeah, if you don't want the ball, then you're going to put yourself in a position where you're not going to be successful. You want to be aggressive enough that you want it and you want to do something positive with it.
Yeah, it's a mental thing, definitely. Like you gotta put it in your mind that you're getting that ball, and when you get the ball, then it's like your team wants it as well. Like if you get a dig, if it's a good dig, the hitter wants to put the ball down. Like everyone gets excited, and it's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, they want to finish off what you started and bring it to an ultimate positive, obviously, and get that point on your side. Sammy, in that 5th set then, you guys got off to such a great start, and you were able to ride the momentum there. Talk a little bit about, as was mentioned, with some of your hitters really being able to put the ball away all night long, but setting them up, because you have several options up there at the net. I mean, you don't have to go to one particular hitter all the time. So give me a little semblance of what your thinking is there.
Well, it's a lot about their blockers. So, my hitter got shut down by Elena and Megan a couple times. But Devin was able to overcome that, and so we needed Devin, which is our stronger hitter. And if I couldn't get it to Devin, I put it out to Bren right away, which I had no doubt that she would put it down right away. We kind of have this, I guess you could say, a saying. It's like, how bad do you want this? And show me how bad you want this. If I'm going to set her, then I want her to like prove to me that she wants that ball and she's going to put this ball down, not just okay. Like,
right.
And it's how bad do you really want this? Do you want this win?
Yeah, well, it certainly seemed like Williamsport wanted it very badly on Tuesday night. No question that. Congratulations on the win over Smithsburg and raising the record to 8-1, and best of luck the rest of the way. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be back right after this, going into overtime solo in just a moment.
For over 25 years, Tony's Pizzeria has been serving authentic Italian cuisine. Open daily for lunch and dinner. Stop by today and enjoy one of their many house favorites, made fresh from scratch daily, in the newly expanded and remodeled dining area. Serving a full liquor bar, beer and wine, Tony's 50-person banquet room is perfect for your next celebration. Dine in, take out, or delivery. Come see what's new at Tony's Pizzeria Restaurant and Grill, 10 East Salisbury Street in Williamsport.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, presented by Meritus Health Urgent Care and Total Rehab. It's time for overtime, and seeing that I'm the only one here, I'm happy to start and finish. Tuesday night, I had the opportunity to work with a remarkable person and an incredible woman. And by all accounts, she did a fantastic job in the analyst role for the Smithsburg-Williamsport volleyball match we called together on Antietam Cable. Really, it was just another task at which Kelly Myers distinguished herself, and she did it in a place where she excelled so much 30 years ago that she earned a full-ride scholarship to the University of Maryland to play volleyball. Myers was a three-sport star at Williamsport from 1982 to 1986, where she couldn't wait for the next season, playing volleyball in the fall, basketball in the winter, and running track and field in the spring. In talking with Kelly prior to Tuesday's broadcast, she explained how her motivation to play sports was simply her love for playing and competing. There were no club sports to play during the off-season for her. When school was out, she was often on a playground somewhere playing something, and usually against the boys. The fact that she ultimately received that Division I volleyball scholarship was never what drove her. She never even thought about it until it happened, and Myers was quite humbled by it. Truth be told, she was such a tremendously gifted yet unassuming athlete that she had to make a choice, volleyball or basketball. While she chose volleyball, as fate would have it, in her sophomore year at College Park due to injuries on the basketball team, Kelly played both sports. Upon graduating from Maryland in 1992, she channeled her competitive juices into coaching on the college level, something she would ultimately do for 17 years, including 7 as head volleyball coach at the University of Connecticut. I lay all of this foundation about her to say this: after where she's been and all that she's accomplished, her coming back to Williamsport on Tuesday to provide color for a high school match was truly a privilege and an honor for me. As for her performance, there was only one thing she got wrong, and that was after we were off the air when she called me a rock star. Well, no, not even close. Give her an electric guitar, and she could have headlined her own concert with all of Williamsport turning out to rock out with her. Kelly's persona and enthusiasm is so genuine that people can't help but gravitate to her. And because of that, on a night where Volley for the Cure was raising money through volleyball for breast cancer awareness, the best fundraiser would have been charging people to hug Kelly. She must have set a world record in the Guinness Book for most hugs in the shortest amount of time. Ironically, Myers is currently in charge of fundraising for the athletics program at Georgetown University. The Hoyas are extremely lucky to have Kelly Myers, and on Tuesday, we were quite fortunate to have her. And it was a tremendous match, too. Didn't even really need announcers in the end. We hope you get to watch that on Antietam Cable. Thanks so much for watching Inside Sports this week, and I'll see you in 7 days right back here on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers.